Good morning, fellow Rotarians and guests, and welcome to ENCORE, Rotary Remains Relevant, a Rotary Works initiative presented by Rotary Zones 33 and 34. Thank you for spending your Saturday morning with us. It is now my great honor to present to you and to introduce Rotary International President nominee Gordon McInally, calling in from Scotland. But before I turn the program over to Gordon, I'd like to share with you the top 10 things you might like to know about Gordon. Number 10, he is from Scotland. Number 9, he is a member of the Rotary Club of South Queensferry. Number 8, he has stage presence. Number 7, he is a master stick maker. Who knew? What a great attribute for a Rotary International president. Number 6, his orange marmalade is award-winning. We all look forward to participating and partaking of some orange marmalade at the Houston Convention, Gordon. Number 5, he is a master bridge hanger. Again, who knew? What an amazing attribute for a Rotary International president. Number 4, he is a wine collector, a man after my own heart. We look forward to participating in this activity as well, Gordon. Number 3, he is a drone photographer and videographer. Again, who knew? Number 2, he is a proud grandfather. Look at those wonderful grandchildren. And number 1, he is married to Heather, the most exciting and wonderful achievement of his life. Please give a warm welcome to Rotary International President nominee Gordon McInally. Gordon, the floor is yours.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for such a warm welcome. It's a real pleasure to be with you today. I'm pleased and I'm honoured to open this morning's event. And I'd like to begin by congratulating my dear friend, past Rotary International Director, Stephanie Urchik, on this worthy endeavour, which has offered support and guidance to so many Rotarians and Rotaractors experiencing career transition. The pandemic has changed our lives forever, and programmes like Rotary Works has made a difference. Likewise, my thanks to the entire ENCORE team for all their hard work, as well as to each one of you for making the commitment and taking this time out on a Saturday morning to be here. Rotary Works is comprised of 3 distinct programmes: education, networking, and providing financial resources for participants, as well as mentorship opportunities for personal and professional development. These concepts expressly relate to Rotary's vision and certainly support the relevance of Rotary around the world. As always, it would have been nicer to be with you in person, but as we hear on many occasions and in many places just now, we are where we are. Before I go on, can I thank Director Peter for that very generous and, I must say, innovative introduction. Peter, when you leave the board at the end of June, I can see a whole new career opening up for you as a private eye. I've learned things about myself this morning that even I didn't previously know. Now, although actually my home, as Peter says, is in Scotland, I'm speaking to you this morning from Dubai, where I'm between flights, having been in Singapore to carry out a site visit for the 2024 International Convention. And it's going to be a great convention. Make sure you don't miss it. In addressing the topic of how Rotary is relevant, I'd like to focus my remarks today on three concepts: personal development in and through Rotary, change, and so important to the times in which we live, peace. Let's begin with opportunities for personal and, by extension, career development. Rotary is a great place to enhance our personal development, and I think this is something that we as Rotary members do not take the opportunity to do often enough. I've often said I've learned things through Rotary I was never taught at dental school, and I'm convinced my involvement with Rotary has made me a better dentist, although I guess my patients would be better placed to answer that than me. Project management, financial management, public speaking, succession planning, and sound governance practices are all skills that I've developed through my involvement in Rotary. At present, there are no fewer than 32 personal development courses in Rotary's online learning centre, and each one is excellent. I urge you to take a look at them and to make use of them. The opportunity Rotary gives us to network with what you might term the movers and shakers in our communities is another great benefit of being part of this great movement. This aspect of Rotary that was so fundamental to the organisation in its early years, but we don't like to talk about it so much these days. I think we should, as it's nothing to be ashamed of, and I know that the opportunity to network has certainly aided my personal and career development. And of course, Rotary, with its USP, its unique selling point of vocational service, stands apart from and above any other service organisation. Our emphasis on integrity and high ethical standards, and the two standards developed by Rotarians, the four-way test and the Rotarian Code of Conduct, provides a roadmap for ethical behaviour in the workplace and in other areas of life. I never think it does any harm to restate them and to remember that. Adopted by Rotary International in 1934, the four-way test remains an essential standard against which we measure ethical behaviour. It's been translated into dozens of languages and promoted by Rotarians worldwide. I had a frame of it hanging on my office in my dental surgery for over 30 years. And of course, our Rotarian Code of Conduct provides a framework for ethical behaviour that we can all use together with the four-way test in our business and professional activities, allowing us to practice good, sound corporate social responsibility, something that remains relevant in this day and age. If I can now turn to the important topic of change, and it is a very important topic as far as the relevance of Rotary is concerned. For without change, the future of Rotary could be bleak. Change can be daunting, but it can also be exciting and it can be energizing. We must embrace it and thrive on it because it must happen, and it must happen now before it's too late. The phrase "build back better" has been used by many of the world's governments recently to describe how things might look in a post-pandemic world. In fact, I think next to "you're on mute," it's probably one of the most commonly used phrases we have heard during the past 2 years. But as far as Rotary is concerned, it shouldn't be a question of building back better, but rather of building forward better. Building back implies a return to the way things were. I don't see that as an option. We need to learn from our collective experiences during the COVID pandemic and take a changed Rotary forward, because the world will not stand still for us. It would be a tragedy if we don't learn from the past 24 months. A tragedy and a travesty. We owe more than that to those who have gone before us. And there's another group we owe it to. I don't need to remind you that over 6 million people worldwide have died from the coronavirus. These people were mothers, they were fathers, they were husbands, they were wives, they were brothers, they were sisters. Surely there must be a better legacy for each and every one of them, for us to simply go back to doing things the way we were before all this happened. So what of the future? Well, these are exciting times for Rotary as we exit the pandemic, times of great opportunity. I attended the Council on Legislation in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, and whilst it was great to participate in a face-to-face meeting, it was even better to participate in the first ever hybrid council. Nearly 200 of the delegates attended virtually, and the whole event went without a hitch. It was fascinating to hear and see people from all around the world who couldn't make it to Chicago for whatever reason play a full part in the meeting over 4 days. Such a perfect example of learning from the past 2 years, combining the best of how we did things previously with all the knowledge we've gained about technology and how to use it. Of course, the technology was there before the pandemic struck, but we just hadn't got round to using it. And the pandemic has given us another unique opportunity to draw a line in the sand and review our entire method of operating. And I firmly believe that as we navigate out of it, there are many, many ways we can become even more relevant and strengthen our clubs, which are, after all, the bedrock of Rotary. We've got what is probably a one-off chance just now to engage with those who, during the pandemic, have embraced the concept of volunteer service and have them join us to allow them to continue giving service. And of course, we're so fortunate that there is now so much opportunity to look at club models that don't need to be bound by style of meeting or by geography or by suitability of a venue. In addition to helping us re-engage with our existing members in a post-pandemic world, this will allow us to engage with a whole new and different audience. An audience that maybe doesn't want to meet every week. An audience that maybe doesn't want to dine. An audience that maybe doesn't want to meet face-to-face at all, but which would rather meet in a manner that suits them. An audience that wants to do things and be people of action rather than simply meet for meeting's sake. My vision is that Rotary clubs, groups, call them what you will, exist everywhere in a style to suit everyone who has the desire to be part of us and help us do good in the world. Because Rotary is all about caring, but we need to care for our members, new and existing, because only by caring for each other can we hope to care for the world. And we are living in times when the world has arguably never been more in need of care. I'm sure, like me, you have been horrified by the terrible news coming out of Eastern Europe regarding the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the ramifications of such an outrage. What has society become that sees frightened, defenseless children cowering in dark, dank corners of a Kyiv subway station whilst the horrors of war play out above them? How broken is our world that a children's and maternity hospital can see bombs rain down on it from the sky with the loss of many innocent lives, as we saw in Mariupol and continuing in cities across that country. All of us have seen the scenes of the railway station that was targeted by bombs and by missiles, a place where mothers and children were seeking escape from the hell surrounding them. And then only recently, we saw the bodies with their hands tied behind their back, cast aside at the edge of the road like some discarded garbage in Bucha. The word genocide's been used, and I don't believe that to be too strong a description of what we are witnessing. We live in a time of unprecedented technological advances, but sadly, we also live in a time of destruction and human suffering. As we're seeing with our own eyes, peace is such a fragile commodity. And don't forget, what is happening today in Ukraine could, if it's not stopped, happen in the other countries that surround Ukraine next. And this whole tragic war could move onwards and outwards to involve more and more countries and more people. My call to action is that Rotary, with all its global reach, must work to help the world live together in peace and in friendship and in love, and make sure we leave a proper legacy for our children and our children's children. We must give people hope for a better future, thus confirming our relevance in today's world. Humanity has grown up scientifically and technologically, but now it needs to grow up even more by pointing the whole human race beyond the petty divisions of nepotism, race, and creed. Far too many people in this world have experienced and are experiencing the atrocities of war and terrorism. But thankfully, we are committed to working for peace. And never forget, peace is more, so much more, than the absence of war or armed conflict. Peace is freedom. Peace is healthy children and adults. Peace is clean water and sufficient food. Peace is education, human rights, dignity, clothing, concern for mankind. But most of all, peace is love. The late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, and I quote, "We must discover the power of love, the redemptive power of love. And when we discover that, we will be able to make of this old world a new world. For love is the only way." My friends, there is power in love. Don't underestimate it. Don't over-sentimentalize it. There is power in love. Power in love to help and to heal when nothing else can. Power in love to lift up and liberate when nothing else will. Power in love to show us the way to live. And if you don't believe me, just stop. And to use a word we're going to hear a lot of in Rotary during the next year, imagine. Imagine a world where love is the way. Imagine homes and families where love is the way. Imagine neighborhoods and communities where love is the way. Imagine business and commerce where love is the way. Imagine governments and nations where love is the way. Where love is the way, then no child will go to bed hungry in this world ever again. Where love is the way, justice will flow like a mighty river. Where love is the way, poverty will become history. And when love is the way, there is room, plenty of room for everyone. Because when love is the way, when peace is the way, we actually treat each other like we are family. And what better aspirations could we as Rotarians have? What greater hope could we as Rotarians create in the world than a sense of love and peace and family? As I've travelled around the world on a virtual basis over the past few months, I've often quoted the late US Senator Robert Kennedy, and I make no apologies for doing so again this morning. Kennedy, whilst addressing the University of Cape Town in South Africa in June 1966, said, and I quote, "Like it or not, we live in interesting times. They are times of danger and uncertainty, but they are also the most creative of any time in the history of mankind. And everyone here will ultimately judge themselves on the effort they have contributed to building a new world and the extent to which their ideals and goals have shaped that effort." 56 years on from Kennedy's address, in these current times of danger and uncertainty, let us recognise they are also amongst the most creative of any time in the history of Rotary. So let us make sure we are judged on the effort we have contributed to rebuild our broken world, and the extent our combined ideals and goals have shaped that effort as we imagine and then create a more peaceful world, utilising all the many tools within our Rotary toolbox. Change and peace must be partners in progress. Through change, we find innovation and hope, which enhances our relevance. In pursuit of peace, we build and protect our soul. Friends, I'm conscious that time is always the great enemy on occasions such as this, and I fear my time may be reaching its end. I remember years ago reading an article in The Guardian, a well-known British newspaper, where Lord Burkitt, a respected judge and politician, wrote, "I don't mind people glancing at their watches while I'm speaking, but I do mind when people start shaking them to see if they're still working." Looking around my screen, I can see a few people glancing down to the corner of their screens to check on the time. But so far, I don't think I've seen anyone pick up their computer and shake it. So I shall stop before you do. As I close, I once again want to thank past Rotary International Director Stephanie and her Rotary Works team for their selfless commitment to building confidence, offering enthusiasm, and providing hope to those who may have needed it most, and creating a sense of pride through your affiliation with Rotary International. After all, we are all in this together to serve and build a better tomorrow. Thank you for including me and allowing me an opportunity to address our Rotary family throughout zones 33 and 34 and beyond. Thank you too for all you do and will do for Rotary. Each and every one of you is a credit to the badge you wear. And I am proud, very proud, to belong to the same organisation as you. Thank you very much indeed.